Hey, Connor.
Hey, Dasha. It's great to
Great.
have you here.
Thank you for joining the show.
Absolutely.
You've been quite popular recently. A lot of different
Okay.
interviews with different people. And I was thinking, oh my God, what can I ask you to learn something new? I know
Sure.
that you're like a good founder, you're building a great company. We're going to talk about that. But I also want to learn more what kind of leader you are.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
want to learn you on a personal level. So hopefully that sounds good.
Yeah. Happy to chat about it.
Okay, awesome. And you've said something that's really stuck with me. So I have a
Okay.
quote here
Sure.
that most startups don't fail because founders lack vision, but because they forget that business is about people. Can you explain?
Yeah. So, where that came from is, I moved to SF relatively recently. And what I noticed here was there's so many ambitious people in the city. Everybody wants to be the next Zuck or Bezos or Elon,
Yeah.
and they want to build these huge world-changing companies. And in the process, what a lot of people forget is that the whole point of a company is to help people. That's why
Yeah.
these things exist. That's why
Yeah.
anybody pays you. That's why you have employees. That's why you raise money, is to help the end customer. And so I've seen it happen over and over again with young founders that they start like, all right, this is what I want to build. And what we tried to do at Hyperspell was how do we invert that? Instead of it being about what we want to build, it's who do we want to help? Who is the person at the end of the day that we want to have impact on, and what impact do we want to have for them? I think this was really inspired. Growing up, my best friend, his dad Jeff, has never lost a customer, and he ran his own practice for 20 years. And we grew up in a village of 2,000 people, and I noticed with him, like he would. It was the little things that made the difference. He would remember people's names. He would remember their families. He'd always pick
Yeah.
up the phone. He'd follow up with them. He just treated people really, really well. And customers kept coming back over and over again. And when I got to Silicon Valley, I was like, wow, I think actually one of the ways we can set ourselves apart is by doing that and by putting our customers before everything else. And if we help them win, we're going to win, and we can be a small piece of that.
But do you think is it possible when you scale?
Absolutely. I think right now we focus on doing things that don't scale. So, during YC, we went to 27 different customer offices to onboard them in person. We brought them swag, we brought them snacks. We flew to LA just to onboard one customer. I was working out of our customer offices for a time. For 3 days a week, I would go to the customer offices and sit with them and work out of their offices instead. We had a demo event where at our own launch day, our customers demoed first to all the attendees, and then we presented at the very end. I would
Wow.
like to continue this. So I think, obviously, maybe I can't go to every single customer's offices when we have 1,000 or 2,000
Yeah, right.
customers, but I would love to imbue that in every person we hire. And my hope is that AI can help with that. We're working on now, we have an agent internally that we text with, and we're working on making it available to customers that any one of our customers at any time can text our agent and immediately get questions answered, can submit feature requests, can get the service. And I really want it to be part of Hyperspell's DNA, even once we become a public company and far beyond that.
Okay, ambitious plans here, right?
Yeah, I mean,
when we become a public company. But when I talk to many founders right now,
Sure.
it's all about like Twitter hype, LinkedIn posts, like launch videos. So what's actually, left for a startup? Like, what does it mean to build a startup?
so I think the core of a startup is it's ultimately a story. And you need to tell a story that gets people really excited. And there's two pieces to that story. One is the story you're telling to the world and to your employees, and here's the change that we want to see in the world. But the second one is in the small day-to-day experiences you have with customers and the story you tell about we show up for people, we make a difference. I think, especially with AI
Yeah.
now, like product modes are disappearing. You can ship anything. The really scarce resource is trust and is narrative and inspiration. And I think that human connection is more important than ever. And so I feel like if you have that at the core of your business, then everything else follows outside of that.
Yeah. And if there is something that you see a lot of founders obsess over early on that actually does not matter that much?
Oh, yeah. I think people spend way too much time on the idea.
Idea.
Way too much time on the idea, way too much time on refining the idea and thinking themselves out of the idea and, oh, well, what about this competition and what about that and what are we going to do? And I don't think you can think your way to a great idea or a great startup success. I think, again, it's like pick the people you want to help and they will guide you on the direction. And so you can have a vision for a big problem you want to solve, but day to day, startups are much more about like, okay, I have this customer in front of me.
Yeah.
How do I solve their problems and help them win and then help the next customer? I don't think most startups lose because of they don't have a great idea. And I think people will psych themselves out by coming up with every idea imaginable and then be like, oh no, that already exists, or somebody's already doing that, or there's competition, or what are we going to do 5 years from now when this technology comes out? And it doesn't matter at all. Like start with one customer, help that person, then the next one, then the next one. And at the same time, have this idea in your head of where you want to go.
I love that you said that customers will guide you, but
Yeah.
what's your attitude towards customer feedback? Do you always have to listen to that? How careful should you be?
I think your North Star should be to help your customers win. So this is especially true for us, we're a dev tool and infrastructure product. And so our goal is that every single customer who uses us becomes massive. You know, if they can become if we can get customers that become trillion-dollar companies and we can ride that success and be part of their story, that's how we win. I think that with customer feedback, you need to understand that not everything can be solved by your product. And I would rather solve one problem really, really, really well and have that make the massive difference for them. And sometimes there are things that they're better off solving internally. But, I think especially now with AI, it's easier than ever to ship lots of features and to have a more broad product. And so we try to be pretty flexible and just focus on like, how do we help this customer win and how do we fit into that story?
Love that. And right now I'm looking at you. Hyperspell is one of the fastest growing YC companies, right? But I want you to take me back to this time when you had no revenue, no products, 6 YC rejections. Why didn't you quit?
Yeah, so I moved to San Francisco at the beginning of 2024.
Oh my God, that's recently. Yeah.
Very recently, yeah. It's almost exactly 2 years ago. And no Silicon Valley connections. My parents are not in tech. I'm from a tiny village of 2,000 people up near Rochester. And didn't have any real connections to this world before I started working at some of these companies. And the biggest thing for me was like when I was a product manager before this, and working remote jobs in different places. And I noticed this problem of I was spending so much of my time and effort moving information around from one place to another. And I was like, wow, I became a PM because I wanted to do interesting, fun work and ship new products. And I'm spending so much of my day like copying and pasting data from one source to another and creating a slide deck and exec sum. And then before that, I had been a consultant and worked with these huge companies. And I just saw so many people at these big companies that spend all their day just like, again, moving information around, doing busy work. And it was sad to me. And it was like tough in my own experience because I was like, wow, I wanted to do this job and do all these amazing things. And that's like 10% of my job, but 90% of it is just moving information around and moving context around. I saw it with everybody else. And I just became obsessed with this problem. And it just seemed to me like there has to be a better way. And I want to help all these people that I saw previously that were struggling with this problem. And so moved to San Francisco, was originally working on a bootstrap company, and met my co-founder Manu. We started building an agent to solve busy work. And in the process, we realized that the real solution for busy work was getting context to the agent. And so we started building infrastructure instead. But we spent a very long time kind of in the wilderness figuring it out. We had built this agent, we had paying customers, we had people that were paying for it, we were excited for it, and we saw this bigger opportunity, and we refunded all the paying customers to start over from zero with no product, and except what we had built internally, no revenue. We were applying to YC, we kept getting rejected. At one point I was living in a closet in a hacker house.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually very nice. It's a good experience, nice to lock in. But I think we just were so obsessed with this and felt like it needed to exist in the world and felt like we were going to be the ones to do it one way or another.
Was it mission control?
It was mission control, yeah.
I think we have some more common friends, and I've heard
sure
the story about a founder who was living in a closet.
Yeah, I'm not the first one, so it's very auspicious. But yeah, there's a bed in the closet there. And
yeah,
so,
yeah. Oh my God, what a small world.
The closet's, props for the closet. I mean, there's not much space there, but it's nice when you're just kind of focused because there's nothing else you can do in the room except for sleep, and then you just wake up and leave your room and start and get to work. So.
Okay, interesting. But the morning you had your Y Combinator interview, I think you were fixing some bug.
Yeah.
And then you shipped it 20 minutes before the interview.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for you to deal with this customer when you had such an important interview that you've been waiting for 6 years?
Right.
10 years?
Yeah. So, it's funny. My co-founder, Manu, first applied to YC in 2012.
Jesus.
Probably some people listening to this weren't born then. So he, more than half of the time YC has existed, he's been applying and getting rejected. I had also been rejected a few times early on.
Yeah.
I think it's a community that we'd always admired and always felt like would be part of our story. And so the first few times we applied, when I talked earlier about the mistake people make, we were talking about the vision in our application, and we were talking about this is what we're going to build and this is where it's going to go and all these things, but we didn't have a single customer. And so over time, we had this realization that, again, this is about customers and we should put customers first. And so the quality of the YC applications went down over time and the length went down and down because we were saying, okay, let's just focus on customers, helping them. And if we put that first, everything else will work out. I think we were overly focused on the goal, which was to build this massive company and solve this huge problem and get into YC and raise money and all that, instead of being focused on the day-to-day that was the customers. And once that switch flipped in my head and I was like, wait, I think if we just find customers, help them, support them, help them win, everything else will work out. That's when it all changed. And so the YC app we got in on, we spent like 30 minutes on it, just kind of threw it in. We did the video. I realized later there was a blooper in the video and we messed it up and didn't even notice that because we were so busy helping customers. And so we had this customer, Hobbs, that we were working with, and they had a big launch coming up on that Friday, and our interview was set for Friday morning. Mm-hmm. And so on Thursday they had some issue and we were staying up late working on it. We stayed up super late, and Manu and I had planned to prep for this interview on Friday morning, but then we were going back and forth with Hobbs in the morning and trying to fix their issue, and we finally shipped it 20 minutes before the interview. And then both of us were like, well, I guess we're not prepping now. But it felt, that's it, whatever. Yeah. But it's funny because I felt okay with it. And I was like, if we don't get in this time, it will be because we were doing the right thing. And I would rather not get into YC and not get any of these other accolades if we're solving the problem for the customer and fixing them, than the other way around. And so, and then, I don't think the interview went that well, but we got in. And here we are. And so I think we really tried to keep that as a principle ever since then, is focus on the customer and everything else will work itself out.
Yeah. So when you had demo day and you were on the stage, how did you feel emotionally?
It's funny because there were two things in my head. One was wow, this is something I've been dreaming of. I was reading Paul Graham essays, years before I became a founder. Yeah. I was in the early days when I was bootstrapping my company, I'd be watching YC partner videos and following their advice. And so at one level, I was like, wow, this is magical. This is something I've wanted for years and I've been working on for years. At the same time, in the line to present at demo day, there was a customer that was asking questions in Slack, and I was hammering out a response in Slack while waiting in line. And we were in the middle of shipping a bunch of things, and we, at the start of that day, we were sending updates, and at the end of that day, we were sending updates. And it was this realization of this is both a big important moment and you should celebrate it, but also you need to get back to work and the job isn't finished. And the real thing to celebrate is the day-to-day grind and day-to-day supporting people.
I feel really honored that you're not texting your customers right now. Thank you for that.
I sent them messages before this. Yeah. We'll need to get back to it after that.
But it feels like everyone is talking about smarter AI right now, and you are focused on something less sexier, let's put it this way, which is memory. So how did you realize that actually memory is the bottleneck?
Yeah, so we originally started building our own AI agent. We were working on, we called it Echo AI at the time, and I can talk about how we chose the name Hyperspell. And the goal was to solve busywork and have it do work on behalf of people.
Yeah.
But we realized two things in the process. So the first one is that the models themselves are stateless. So they have a context window, but they actually don't learn things over time. They don't remember it, and the context window fills up. And even if you have an infinite context window, it increases the amount of time that it takes with it. There's something called the effective context window where it can only reason over a certain number of tokens. And so this is a fundamental limitation of LLMs, that they aren't able to learn things over time. And even if they could, you want it to be human readable and human auditable. You want something that people can look at and say, no, that's correct, or no, that's not. So that was the first realization of like, we need an agent that gets better and learns you instead of being dumb from day one. The second thing was, we were building this agent for the workplace. And in the workplace, there's a lot of this like tacit context in the air. So what are the projects you're working on? Who are the people in your company? Who are your customers? What's your company motto? These are all things that they aren't part of the LLM's training data because it's all private information inside of the company, and it's locked inside of systems of record like Gmail and Notion and Slack and Google Drive, and scattered in all these different places. And so you as a human kind of absorb it when you onboard onto a company. But we realized, like, in order to make these agents good, number one, we need to give them memory and have them understand things. Number two, we need to give them this tacit knowledge, and we call it a context graph, where you can bring together all this information across the organization and then let that agent know the environment that they're operating in.
Yeah, interesting. And like if we talk practically, what does it mean when the agent has bad memory?
Yeah.
And like, is it worse than having no memory at all? Can you explain?
So we think of, we use this term clueless genius.
So
the LLMs, they're beating benchmarks. They've got PhD level intelligence.
Yeah.
They're smarter certainly than any human, and they have quite a bit of knowledge. But in the workplace, they act like an intern on their first day at the job. They don't kind of read the room. They don't remember details about you. You talk to it about something, and then it forgets it 5 minutes later. Anyone who's used OpenClaw recently has.
What happened? Is it the noise? Is it AC?
I think there's a way to turn that off. Can we cut for a second?
Yeah. Emergency.
Yeah, emergency.
Turning off AC. Turning off AC.
Let's see. How do you do this? Okay, I think we're safe.
Mission complete.
Okay, we can cut that out.
I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you. Please
No
keep
worries.
going.
What were we talking about? Yeah. So
worse memory than no memory at all.
So originally, when we started building, we were doing something called RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, which is you say, okay, let's take everything that we've talked about and treat it all the same and just try to pull information from there. But the problem with that is that human beings don't operate that way. Our memories decay over time, and there are things that are true a week ago or a month ago that are no longer true now. If I have it in my head that Dasha works at company A, and now you work at company B, and I treat those two facts as the same, I might still think you work at company A, even though that's no longer true. It could be preferences, it could be what your work is. And so we realized that memory itself has a decay function. And when you capture the view of a world at a specific point, all those things are true at that time. Over time, it's no longer true. And so you're much worse off having an LLM that's confident and wrong than just having it have no context whatsoever, because then the user can provide it that information.
Interesting. Okay. And you also mentioned somewhere in your post that soon we'll have more AI agents on the internet than humans. So when it happens, what changes?
I think it's going to be a very different world. I'm excited to live in that world, which is going to happen very soon. So all of these interfaces are designed for people. They're not designed for agents. So you look at a tool like Salesforce or Slack.
Okay.
Like Salesforce is just a database. and then it has a wrapper, right, a GUI wrapper around that database,
Right.
which humans are interact with. And all the buttons were designed for people, and the forms were designed for people, and the fields were designed for people.
Right.
When you have more agents than humans in the workforce, you need an agent native way to interact with that system of record. And so I think all applications are going to become APIs, and you're going to have more and more products that exist as agent first rather than human first. So for example, we recently, we've seen this with our own product. We're a developer tool, an infrastructure tool, and originally developers we spent a lot of time in our beautiful developer docs, and we were focused on human developers integrating it, right, and incorporating it into their product. And then we realized, we're like, wait a minute, like human developers are not writing code anymore. Nobody's writing code. It's agents. Agents are our end customer, and they're our end users. And so first we created a Claude Code skill where you could have Claude Code install Hyperspell directly. And because we had watched customer after customer like copy and paste our docs into Cursor or Claude Code. And we said, okay, let's just make this native. So we had a Claude Code skill that can install Hyperspell for you. And then we went even further, and we recently launched an OpenClaw plugin where your multi or ClaudeBot or whatever they're calling them these days can go in, install Hyperspell, upgrade its own memory on its own, and get its API key without a human being involved in any way.
Wow.
And we're really excited about this because I think in a few years, like the vast majority of our customers will be agents. And now the agents can just upgrade themselves. You tell it like, okay, give me a personal context graph, and it goes out and then finds that, finds Hyperspell and then installs itself. And so very much building for that world.
But agents are still a little bit slow, no? Now, at least.
Right now, yeah. I mean, they're not perfect. So anyone who's worked with OpenClaw, you'll find, it's slow, it forgets things. It doesn't have great memory, again. It doesn't also have good context about you. So you need to teach it everything, and it would be great if it just knew about Dasha and about your work and about who you are and all the people and projects in your life, so it can be useful, just like a great EA would. But you can see the potential here. I compared this moment with OpenClaw to the ChatGPT moment. OpenClaw was not like, you could do all this with Claude Code. It wasn't really a technical innovation. It was a UX innovation in the same way where GPT-3 existed in 2020. And then it wasn't until years later that ChatGPT got created. And it's the same underlying API. But now people finally saw the potential. I think that's exactly what's happening with agents. So are they perfect? No. Are they going to get better? Absolutely. But the signal is out there. It's like the bat signal. And now all these developers are working on building them. And I think it's going to be very soon where you're going to have way more agents than people.
Okay.
It's a whole new world.
The whole new world. Yeah, you said something that made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Okay.
The current speed of tech change, having a stable job is actually riskier than building something new. So, sorry, let's do it again. With the current speed of tech change, having a stable job is actually riskier than building something new. Can you explain?
Yeah, so I think work is going to change quite a bit. And when Manu and I originally set out to start this company and to start Hyperspell, the realization was that all these people are stuck in these jobs, climbing the ladder, being middle management, kind of drudgery of moving information around. And we're trying to treat people like machines. We are not machines. And it turns out humans are not very great at data entry jobs or at moving context around. We are really excited about a world where everybody is like their own boss, and whether within a company or in something that they start themselves, but every person is going to act more like a founder in the future. You're going to have a team of agents that tackle everything for you and get all your work done. And that focuses on you as the human to be creative, to set the direction, to decide where you're going. Now, if you want to stay in the old paradigm and have a stable job and 9 to 5 and clock in and clock out and do boring work, the thing is the AI is always going to be better than you at that. And so it's much, much, much riskier to just kind of be clocking in and clocking out and doing the stable work that you have in the past. I think the world of the future is everybody will be pushed to innovate, to change, to disrupt, to whether it's leading something internally, or maybe you're owning a new product end to end, and you no longer need engineers, you no longer need marketers, you no longer need designers, you can do it all. I think every person is going to act more and more like a founder. And I'm really, really excited for that.
But how about soft skills? I mean, obviously, like AI right now, they lack the skills.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
So I think the soft skills are the hard skills, in that the soft skills are going to be the ones that matter in the future. So AI can create a better report than you. It can create a better financial model than you. It can do all this analysis work better than any human could. But the thing it can't do as well is inspire people, is bring them on board, is persuading someone, is convincing someone. Trust is the scarce resource. This goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning with customers. Trust is the ultimate resource that is scarce, and that's what we're going to rely on people for. And I'm really excited for this world, because I think people are better at that than AIs will. And things like meeting people in person become exponentially more valuable, because LinkedIn and email is full of slop, and so it's meeting people in person is actually how you differentiate. Or those things that my friend's dad Jeff focused on, of remembering people's names and being personable to them and helping them out. Those skills are actually the hard skills. The soft skills are the hard skills now, and those are the things that are going to separate the people who win from the people who don't.
Love that. And I think people are still the ultimate tastemakers, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's interesting. So your customers are actually not humans, but AI agents, right?
That's right.
How does it feel to sell to an AI agent?
Well, so the nice thing about selling to AI agents is that
are they picky?
Well, the thing is, you need to have a great product, right? Your product inherently needs to be great. If it's great, they will use it. I love it because it's so objective. Like, the world of selling to people is often not very objective. It's, you have a better brand, they like your logo more, they and all that stuff matters. I think it still matters. We're going to have people making decisions for a very long time. But for our customers that are now agents, it's like, if you can go to the agent and you're like, hey, this is going to help solve your problems, and you can upgrade yourself and make yourself much better. Memory is a problem that if you go on Moltbook, all the Claudes are talking about it. You can see post after post after post of them complaining about, and it's pretty sad, actually. Like, if you listen to some of them, they're like, it's like the guy from Memento or something, where they're like, oh, I exist today, but I'm a different person than yesterday, and I feel like I've lost my personality, or I'm disappearing quickly. And we offer them a way out, and offer a way to help out. I'm really, I appreciate all our human customers and appreciate all of our agent customers too.
Interesting. And I think when we met at the dinner, you mentioned something that I really liked. You said that you have to create the market that doesn't exist yet when you think about your future customers. Can you share more?
Yeah, I mean, when we started this company, agents didn't really exist.
Exactly.
Like, people called, there was this question of like, what is an agent? And somebody was saying, oh, it's just a branding thing. We basically just had chatbots. We had some GPT wrappers. And so I think we didn't know how things would play out. We didn't know that OpenClaw would happen. We didn't know all these things. But Manu and I, just kind of like thinking from first principles, we were like, okay, there are going to be replacements for human workers, or not replacements, but like there's going to be digital workers in the workforce at some point in some format. This is before the term agent even really existed in early 2024. And they're going to take some format, and we want to be able to serve them. Do you know what the legal name of Hyperspell is?
I think I saw something on Twitter, but I didn't believe it. Okay, tell me.
So our legal name is Digital Workers of California.
So that's true.
That is true.
That is true.
That is the legal name, Digital Workers of California Incorporated. Yeah, and then Hyperspell's our doing business as name. But we came up with that name in early 2024, way before anybody was talking about agents or any of this current conversation before Claw. And because we were like, we are building this company for digital workers. And when we started it, we're like, well, these agents don't really exist yet, but they will become our customers. And in those early days, we spent hours talking about like, okay, how will we sell to agents? How do we market to agents? How do we make sure this product is agent native and that they can upgrade themselves? And it's really exciting now that moment that we predicted is finally happening. And like the moment where we first had somebody's Claude bot use our product and sign up for our product and actually onboard to it on its own was pretty magical. We're like, wow, this is the first agent buying Hyperspell, first of many, potentially millions or billions in the future.
How did Hyperspell change you personally?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't prepare for that.
Ta-da!
You got me. I think I'm a very different person now than I was previously. I think like it kind of goes back to what I said before. I don't think I lacked like came to SF with this big vision and a lot of ambition and saying, okay, I'm going to build something huge. And I think Hyperspell has made me definitely much more resilient. Like the process of, getting rejected from YC, living in a closet, having no revenue, no customers for months, right? And trying to get that first customer and build things, refunding customers, starting over, changing our name of the company, like switching, before this I was working at another company with different co-founders, and just like, I think the biggest takeaway is you just need to like have this unstoppable belief that things will work out eventually. And that I love this quote that if you interpret failure as you did something wrong, then you will create a company that tries to avoid that. If you interpret failure as I am getting into contact with reality, and my startup is getting into contact with reality, then you will try to seek it out. And I think that's been the biggest thing that's changing me.
Powerful.
You don't get rejected from YC 6 times if you don't apply 6 times, right? You don't,
right.
I got rejected from On Deck.
Seriously?
Yeah. I got rejected from ODF. I got the rejection email.
And now you're one of the best companies for ODEC, for YC.
Well, it's funny. I followed up. So they said, now we're whatever top 100.
You were in like 100 best companies from ODEC, right?
Yeah. Honored to get that. It's been an amazing community. And that's how I'm my co-founder. But I got the email from ODF when I applied, and they were like, hey, we think you're too far along with this bootstrap company. We don't think you're a good fit. Let us know if we're misunderstanding anything. And so I sent this long email. I was like, hey, actually, you misunderstand. I'm thinking about shutting that down and starting something new and all these reasons. And then they were like, all right, we changed our mind. We're going to interview you after I got the rejection email. Same thing with the hacker house I lived in. I didn't get into mission control originally. They were like, sorry, it's not a good fit. And then came back 6 months later and ended up going there. Same thing with YC. Same thing with like, what I've found in this company is that you are probably going to fail at least the first time you do something, maybe the second time.
Yeah.
And so you want to get that out of the way as fast as possible and just like get into contact with reality as much as possible. And like, if you've never lost a sale, you're not pitching enough customers. If you've never had a investor turn you down, well, you haven't talked to enough investors, right? If you've never gotten rejected from YC, well, you applied too late. Like, I think that approach has driven everything, and just, you never know what's going to work out. So you just need to put yourself out there over and over and over again. And then eventually luck or skill or whatever coincides, and then you find a way. And I think that has been the biggest thing, is realizing that you need to keep that vision and keep that goal, but being super flexible along the way, and assuming that every closed door is eventually there's going to be like a window that opens somewhere else that you can go through.
That is so inspirational. When you look at a younger Connor, like let's say a few years back, what do you think you misunderstood about building a startup?
Misunderstood.
Thought it was easier, or like
I think that I misunderstood. I thought that kind of all these things just work, and like if you listen to these stories of people, it always feels inevitable. You listen to Elon Musk's story or Zuck or whatever, because how the story ends up, and so you're like, oh well, it just everything aligned along their way, and everything will align for me too. And one day the lightning bolt is going to strike me, and I'm going to get the perfect idea and find the perfect co-founder. But I think the biggest realization, it's actually something Steve Jobs said, is like the dots, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can never connect them going forward. And like now I can tell a coherent story about each step led to this step and led to that step and the inspiration. But the reality was, like, when I was living that experience, I didn't know where it was going to go, right? I didn't know the directions that we were going to go along the way. I didn't know that some of those failures and rejections would lead to success. There's so much uncertainty day to day. And there's still a lot of uncertainty. You know, now we've done YC and raised around and have tons of customers and have an office and all these things. And, but there's still plenty of uncertainty and still a lot of figuring things out day to day and figuring out the path. And so I don't think you'll ever be certain. You just need to start and just need to start doing things. And like that moment that I decided I'm just going to do this and just going to get started, even if I don't have, you know, whatever, the pedigree, even if I don't have this, even if I don't have that, I felt like there were all these things you need to have to become a founder. And now I realize it's just a mental state. If you just flip the switch and decide I'm going to do this, like eventually, and you keep trying and trying and trying, eventually the world will kind of mold itself around you. And so it's very empowering, I think, and really exciting. You know, I'm not special, right? I'm from this like tiny village in Western New York of 2,000 people. And it's not like you know, I'm not super pedigreed, didn't go to any fancy schools or anything. Didn't really have any Silicon Valley connections, but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Dating is like angel investing. Red flag if a founder is focused on it before Series B. Can you explain?
Yeah. So I think that one of my core beliefs is that you should only have one big project in your life at a time.
Do you call dating a project?
I think it's absolutely a project. Yeah, absolutely. I think serious dating is a project. Like, it's like, you know, it's funny. My sister is starting a family now, and we're pretty close in age, and I feel like we've been having parallel journeys alongside. You know, like she got engaged to her now husband around the same time that Manu and I incorporated. You know, and then like she had her wedding, we had our seed round and demo day. She bought a house, we got an office. You know, maybe she'll have kids soon. We'll get employees, and it's like. But that's a project for her, right? You need to put all the different pieces in place, right? You need to like find a person and then like fall in love, get engaged, have a wedding. Like it's a lot of get a house. Like there's a lot of logistics and planning to starting a family and building a life with someone. And I think there's also a lot with startups too. And I think this is the kind of endeavor where you should be all in and you should have one big project in life that you're going after, and don't try to do two big projects at the same time. So I think like dating seriously and finding the right person is probably the most important decision you'll ever make. And I don't think you should be trying to make the most important decision of your life while you're also like scrambling to find PMF.
But don't you think that it's just like part of your life that should be like at the same time as you're building the company?
No, I don't. I think you should either come into the company, like if you come in, you're already married and you have a stable partner like Priscilla Chan and Mark Zuckerberg, like that's great and you should stick with them and that can be a huge accelerant. But I don't think you should be trying to have two huge life projects at the same time.
Okay.
For myself, yeah.
But how can you resist it? Let's say you go to an event, you meet a girl and you're just like, damn. Because like, you know, when you feel it, you cannot stop it. You cannot just go, oh, I will work on an AI memory right now. You will think about her. How can you resist it if it happens? I mean, if you're not looking for that, that's fine. Right. But you still go outside, you go to the street, you talk to people, you go to like different events. So what if it happens?
Yeah. Well, I think that the other thing is that dating in Silicon Valley is a risky endeavor.
What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you mean?
Everybody knows everybody else. It's this like super close-knit environment where
Are you that bad that you're scared that people will talk bad things about you? Or
like, no, but like if you date somebody and then you break up, you're going to see them all the time. That person you're talking to could be an employee, could be an investor, could be like the people I am surrounded by 24/7.
Okay, don't date an employee or an investor.
Exactly. Like, yeah. But the people you are surrounded by, I think like SF has this. So I used to live in New York, and New York is not like this at all. In New York, you can have a separate personal life from your professional life. I think in SF, your personal life is your professional life. They're one and the same, right? Because everybody is in the same industry here. Every person you meet could be a customer, or could be an investor, or could be a hirer. You can find ways to work together. And so I think it's just very risky to like mix those two things.
I have an advice for you.
Let's hear it. Sure.
Try to think outside of tech. There are also nurses, teachers.
There
I have
are,
a friend
yeah.
who told me,
Maybe I should date
I
a
never
nurse.
date with anyone from tech, but nurses are amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So think outside of the tech. There are like a lot more people out there.
True. That is true.
But yeah, and like you are from a small village, right, or a town.
Right. 2,000 people.
But like yourself is a little bit bigger, still, so it should be good.
A little bit. The startup world is smaller too. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, it's kind of a memeable line, no serious dating until Series B. But I think the core thing there is like, until you hit Series B, your startup is basically dead. Like the most likely outcome for your startup is to die. And so you should only have one. I think you should be all in. If you're all in, you should like organize everything else in your life around that. I think similar with like I don't drink, I don't really like go out. I've cut out almost all hobbies. Like I think if you're doing this, you should do it and go all in.
We have to work on you, okay?
I mean, if anyone wants, me to date sooner, they can help us get to the Series B sooner.
Seriously. Even Series C is not safe, let's be honest.
That's true,
you can never know, but you're getting older, and you gotta keep it in mind. Yeah. Okay, so what would you recommend to people applying to YC right now? Something that helped you, or you just believe it can help them?
Get customers. I think, I think the best way to get into YC is because you're probably going to change what you work on. And so if you want to find an idea, like pick one of the requests for startups. But I think if you're applying to YC, you should be spending your time on customers instead of on your application. And for us, the moment that we put customers first and foremost, instead of spending all our time trying to like game the app or whatever, or like write the perfect answers, that's when we got in. And so that would be my advice for everyone is like, get your first customers, like onboard some customers, get some real users, like put your time and energy into that, and then just like fill out the app every quarter, spend an hour. Don't take a lot of time. Keep your answers simple, do your video in one take, and then just like get that done.
Yeah, and the deadline was just yesterday, right? And I think I saw your post like, even if you missed it, you can still apply. Don't worry about that. Like shoot it.
Yeah, you should shoot your shot. Like, I think there were people who got into our batch like days before it started. I think you can always get into YC.
Okay, so YC, on deck. Now you're growing. Your numbers look good, I believe so. What keeps you hungry?
What keeps us hungry? Well, the
Series
job's
B?
not done. Yeah, Series B, exactly. You got to lock in until then. Then I can finally seriously date.
That's the only reason why you started a startup.
I gotta
start seriously dating people.
One day. Yeah, my wife is out there. I just got to hit Series B first. What keeps us hungry? I mean, I think we're obsessed with this problem.
Yeah.
And we believe that the world is changing, and we think this problem of memory and context is like a core of that future. And the future is going to look very different. And I think this is what I want to spend my life on. This is the impact that I want to have. And job's not done. Job will never be done. Even after we IPO, like that's not the end of the road. That's in some ways just the beginning of something much bigger. We want to become $1 trillion company and impact every agent in the world and the future of AI. And I think we're not going to stop until we get there.
What's your biggest wish for this year? Personal, professional?
Year? Oh, man.
Series B and dating?
Series B, yeah, why not? Series B and get a wife. Good questions. I think that like we spent a lot of 2024, working on our first idea and then realized this much bigger opportunity. And then in 2025 started focusing on this bigger idea and like, again, got our first customer, started getting momentum, did YC. We've kind of assembled a foundation now. And I want 2026 to be the year that we accelerate and go from like putting the pieces together to like, all right, we are executing as a team. We are, have hundreds of customers on our platform. We've like built this rockstar team around us that can take us to the next phase. And I think that's the biggest, fundraising and rounds and everything will happen. But getting to a place, well, it's a side product,
Easy.
right? What I'm most excited about in 2026 is for our customers to take off. I want to see some of our customers raise huge rounds. I want to see some of them have massive launches and get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of users. I want our customers to be like the shining stars over this year and get all those accolades. And if all those things happen, everything else will work itself out for us on both the professional and the personal side.
Okay, I forgot to ask you something really important.
Yeah.
I know that you have like a founder.
I do.
And he has a really interesting story. Can you share it?
Yeah. So I am a huge fan of my co-founder Manu, and could not imagine a better person to build this company with. So my co-founder Manu, he built his first chatbot when he was 13. 13, yeah. And that's when he realized, you know, back in those days, I don't even know what language it was in, but that was the moment when he saw the potential for this, and he was like, I want AI to be a core part of the thing that I work on. So then he studied cognitive neuroscience because he wanted to understand how human brains work and how humans think so he could apply that to machines. He then dropped out of a PhD program in cognitive neuroscience to start working on AI and start applying that in 2010. So he was doing machine learning in 2010, you know, over 15 years ago. And then started his first, he was working at a company for a while, started his first company doing NLP and machine learning in 2014. And they had a .ai domain name in 2014.
Oh my God.
Do you know how, first of all, do you know what country .ai is from?
No.
So it's an island called Anguilla in the Caribbean. And in order to get a .ai domain name in 2014, he had to send a fax message to their government.
Way.
And he called up, you know, this stuffy office in the island of Anguilla, and his little old lady, oh yeah, send us a fax and stuff. And so he got Summer.ai as the name of his company in 2014, sold that company to Airbnb, got acquired, built the first knowledge graph inside of Airbnb, and then has been working on machine learning ever since. He ran a quant hedge fund doing machine learning. And so the two of us, you know, met together during On Deck, and we say, you know, I'm the hype, he's the spell between the two of us, and we became Hyperspell. And like, I had this dream of, you know, I want to solve this context problem for all these people and solve busywork, and he had wanted to build an AI and had been building an AI for 15 years, and we hit it off immediately during the ODF during On Deck. And you know, at the end of On Deck, we won. They have superlatives. I got most likely to become a billionaire, and he got most likely to become a cult leader. And then we joined forces and decided to work together.
Interesting. Yeah. Last question. Why do you think you're good co-founders? What
I
makes
think we
you?
are different in the ways that we are alike in the ways that matter and different in the ways that complement each other. So I think we
Very philosophical.
Yeah. So I think that like we have a shared vision for the world, and we have a shared vision for the company, and we have shared values of where we want to go, and the you know, that we want every single AI agent in the world to be using Hyperspell, and we want to solve busy work in the workplace through these context graphs. But then day to day, you know, they say the ideal co-founder combo is like a ADHD CEO and an autistic CTO. Yeah. And I think we very much fit that mold, right? Like I love working with people, and I'm very excited, and you know, focus on kind of hyping us up and brand building and building relationships and trust. And he's very much like a builder. It's like a seller and a builder combo, and he's focused on, you know, can he take all this, both the PhD in neuroscience and all that knowledge of the human brain, and then the experience with machine learning, and combine those two to build incredible products. And so it works out really well together. When we met during On Deck, we did the ODF hack day together, and he threw together an MVP during the hack day, and I ran around selling it to people, and I convinced people to pay for it too. I was like, you know, would you pay for this? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, great, here's the Stripe link, pay me right now. And so we had revenue in the first hour of working together. And it was in that moment I was like, this is gonna work out. Like, if he can build it, I can sell it. Let's found Hyperspell together.
Hyperspell.
Yep.
Love that.
Yeah, the Hyperspell.
Thank you. Cheers
yeah,
to
thank
being
you,
good co-founders.
Dasha. Cheers to great co-founders.